It's football. I've been watching it for 40 years.
Are you kidding me?
You're listening to Winning Cures Everything.
Game day, baby. Wake up or get out.
Here's your host,
a confident young man, a superb athlete,
Gary Seegers.
Yes, we are back aboard. It's another edition of the only show devoted exclusively to the less thought of, usually the road team, the underdog, woof woof. In college football, it is Three Dog Thursday. Whether you're seeing us on the Winning Cures Everything platform, we're back aboard here, or just hearing us on the podcast outlets of Apple, Spreaker, Spotify, etc. We're back. We're back in Locktober. We didn't do as well with the locks, including the host. Market correction for the host, I believe, last week on the show. But we're ready to go over all of it here for the latest edition, week number 7. I am merely the somewhat capable host, TJ Rives. Hello to my wingman in the Tampa Bay area and here on Three Dog Thursday, Jason Powers, who did hit 2 of his 3 underdogs last week. Good to have you back. We begin to learn more in the college football season. And the more that we watch, I think in some cases, the less we understand, like UCLA beating Penn State last week. What the heck happened there? Jason, always good to be with you. We're ready for another week?
We are ready for another week. Good to be Jerry Neuheisel and Rick Neuheisel. You saw all the fandom on CBS when all that was unfolding. How good was that?
That is tremendous TV where Rick Neuheisel's in the studio with the game being broadcast on CBS, and his son is now inserted as the play caller. They've had so many problems, and that had to be like an out-of-body experience for Dad, and maybe even for Jerry, who grew up under Rick being the head coach. He's formerly the star quarterback at UCLA, and finally the offense starts working for the Bruins with a Neuheisel at the controls.
Nico earning some of that money. Nico Iamaleava
finally looked like the quarterback that we had seen at Tennessee. It just took James Franklin's Nittany Lions to have him look like that. Incredible. This is why we love the underdogs, simply against the number, simply to cover. They don't have to win. UCLA did win. Again, thank you for finding us. Thank you to Gary for letting us cohabitate. The audience continues to grow and grow and grow. Help us out. Hit the subscribe button. Gary's going to cross the 15,000 subscriber threshold. If he hasn't done so already right now, as we release this pod on Thursday, it's going to be shortly. Help it out. Hit the like button. Also help out in the algorithm. Comment under the videos. That helps. If you're looking for a way to help us here on Three Dog Thursday or any of Gary's stuff on the Winning Cures platform here on YouTube, make some comments about the picks. For example, I saw the commenters blasting me right away, like 5 of them. What are you doing taking Houston against Texas Tech? All right, I get it. Mea culpa if you're Catholic. I get it. They were not very good, Houston, last week. So make comments on the videos, respond, reply, etc. That helps in the algorithm. YouTube does see that. We love the interaction, etc. So let's talk a little more about last weekend, and then we'll get into the games this week. A couple of yours that came through. Nice call on Wake Forest at Virginia Tech. You saw that coming. You said they could win outright at Blacksburg. They did. You also had Maryland in the Big Ten with Washington that had a 20-0 lead and collapsed, but still hung on for the cover. So 2 covers for you last week. A thought or two from you on last week real quick before we move on to week 7.
No, and then we had the other game that involved a game that was not covered, then got covered by the home team. How about the Alabama score late to cover the number against Vanderbilt?
Very interesting.
The breakaway there by Alabama. I didn't understand why.
Game was 6, game was 9. Much of the second half, they did a good job defensively, and Alabama again scored in the final minute of the game with a touchdown. Yep. And it's interesting, we say this all the time, if the number goes up or down after Thursday, and sometimes they will, because as Gary talks about frequently, and I've had other people explain this, usually on Friday for a lot of these betting apps, they will release the limits. The line is pretty well secured as of Friday, and then they'll release the limits on how much is bet. And if a bunch of money gets bet, it'll move a line. That Vandy line, which was right around 10.5, 11, it became 13 or 13.5, maybe even in a couple of places on Saturday morning or right before kickoff. But Alabama's touchdown wiped out anybody that had 10.5, 11, 13, 13.5. Very interesting, Mr. Powers, about that.
Yes.
And about them. We also saw Miami take it to Florida State. You were a little skeptical about me and the Noles. I had good data backing up the underdog in that situation. Florida State at home. I thought I had flown all the way out to Seattle with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, all the way across the continent that way, 3,100 miles. We're watching the game. I hung in there even when it's 21-3, 28-3, and suddenly I even messaged you and numerous other people. The back door is open in T-Town for a late touchdown to get me a cover, getting 4.5 points. They just elected to kick the field goal late in the game and not go for the touchdown. They knew they had to score twice to win the actual game, but a thought on Miami, who looks every bit legit right now.
They dominated that game. I didn't like some of the decisions Mike Norvell made early in that game. The game was, I believe, 3-0 or 7-3, and he went for it on the Miami 44-yard line when he should have punted. His defense was playing pretty good. I hated that decision. The next play, Miami threw they threw a 55-yard touchdown on the next play. I hated that decision by Norvell, and that now Florida State's in a major bind. They are in serious trouble as far as any kind of ACC title game hopes, as well as the college football playoff. Miami was clearly the better team. That score did not indicate how much Miami dominated that game. They are real.
And I also, again, I took my lumps last week. We're showing the video audience that last week on the program, we ended up 2-4-1. The host ended up 0-3. I had Iowa State early with Cincinnati, but their defense got roasted by Brendan Sorsby. He threw 2 long touchdowns, including a backbreaker in the fourth quarter, an 80-yard touchdown that really put the spread at more than 10 points, cost me there. First loss for Iowa State, impressive for Cincinnati last week. And that's going to kind of lead us into, one more was North Carolina and Clemson. I can tell you this, as we were traveling last Saturday, flying again a cross-country 5.5-hour flight, the plane was buzzing, the internet was buzzing. How bad is North Carolina on the basis of Bill Belichick being behind 21-0 right away in the game? First play of the game is a trick play, wide receiver pass, bomb for a touchdown. They never recovered. Cade Klubnik, I believe, was 16 of his first 17 in the first half of the game. The game is 28-0 before North Carolina scored. They emptied out Kenan Stadium in Chapel Hill in the first half of the game. It's ugly in Carolina. Jason, quick comment.
I would say the boosters in North Carolina make that first call to Michael Jordan. Hey, Michael, it's going to cost us this much to let Mr. Belichick go out the door. We need a check written, please.
It's reportedly a $20 million buyout right now for him, which is not as astronomical as some of these other SEC buyouts. Also interesting, there are 2 or 3 prominent, besides MJ, multi-million dollar boosters who brought Belichick in the first place.
Right.
But we do need to say this before we get into the picks here in just a moment. There's a great long-form article out midweek from WRAL.com, the Raleigh TV station. It is a TV station and website where they did a long-form investigation talking to numerous North Carolina players and staff members anonymously about how dysfunctional this is behind the scenes, about players that are being given preferential treatment. I didn't realize the quarterback Gio Lopez, who they got on the market from the Sun Belt from South Alabama, is getting, $2 million NIL. Max Johnson, who's played in the SEC, the son of Brad Johnson, the Super Bowl winning quarterback for the Buccaneers. Max Johnson getting bagel from North Carolina in the NIL money, and Max Johnson quarterbacked most of the game last week. It's not good. There's apparently a disconnect class system within the locker room. There are players complaining that they can't have their family members around them on game day down on the field, where some preferential players get to have their family members around them. That's not good. It's a mess. There also is a report midweek that Bill Belichick has pulled the plug on the season-long documentary that was to have come out on Hulu on TV. That ain't good. It tells you at this point something that I and numerous others kept pointing out. He is completely overmatched by what he is up against in college football, college kids, NIL. Jason, one follow-up thought from you.
You think it's hard coaching 22, 25, 28-year-olds with families. Think about how hard it is to coach 18-year-old kids with little money in their pocket. That they're not fully developed, intellectually, it's a college experience. He's
Right.
never coached in college before. It's a different world, man. And Bill Belichick's realizing they're not going to do everything you tell them to do like they kind of do in the NFL, where it's a little more structured and there's a little more team-oriented basis behind it.
And you bring up a good point. You're dealing with mature professional players. He loved to make free agent acquisitions on veteran players that are 27, 29, 30. You don't have that here. They chose to roll the whole roster over. And by the way, we've seen that in place after place. West Virginia is having a disaster. I know they've had injuries, rolling the whole roster over. It hasn't worked for Deion Sanders, who lost again last week. And let's roll the whole roster over year after year after year with NIL and the transfer portal. And by the way, Clemson again with Dabo Swinney's going to toe the line on, we're not doing this. We're not going to continue to get rid of 25 guys and bring 25, 30, 40 new guys in. Let's see if it continues to hold up for him. He won the ACC last year, so it would not surprise me. I say this again. This is odd, real quick, and I promise we're getting to the games in just a second. North Carolina had a bye week before the Clemson game. They get blown out by Clemson. When have you heard a Power 5 team in the middle of the year have a bye week, a game, and then another bye week? They're on another bye this week. It's strange. They won't lose, but they don't play until next Friday night against Cal at Berkeley. So if they have a full now 10, 12 days to get ready for that game, 13 days to get ready for that game, and they go out and they're bad against Cal and lose again, it would not surprise me if he says, that's it. Let's work out a settlement. This is not for me. I'm not going to tarnish my image any further by ending up like 3-9 at the end of the year. Right. Stay tuned. Stay tuned on North Carolina for that. All right, it is Three Dog Thursday. Let's get into it. Let's go to doggy number one. We did not talk about the resurgence of Florida with the win over Texas last week in Gainesville because I'm saving it for right now. Jason Powers, you're going right there for doggy number one in the SEC. Gators with another Texas team. This is Texas A&M, Saturday night in College Station. What in the world? For Billy Napier and his team, they look like a different team, and you obviously believe in them this week.
Stay of execution part 2 for Billy Napier after and give him credit. They thoroughly dominated Texas last week. I know Texas, you can make excuses for them. Well, Arch isn't playing very well, but they physically and manhandled Texas. DJ Lagway played really well. I think he threw for 298 yards, 2 touchdowns. And we saw one of the first times I've seen in numerous years in Gainesville, a elite big-time wide receiver, Dallas Wilson, made his debut. Freshman wide receiver for the Gators, had not played all year, had a great spring game. He is legit. He is a Percy Harvin back in the old school days of the Florida electric wide receivers, and you saw him make plays. That opens up the offense. That opens up the playbook to what you can call, how many times you can throw the ball deep, and I think you saw that. And we know that Florida defense has been good all year. If they can get 21 points, I think they got a great chance in this game. I know Texas A&M is good at 5-0. They struggled mightily against Mississippi State last week. They won the game late. The score was not indicative to how close that game really was. I think this is a game you saw a couple weeks ago. Auburn, with that good defense, was able to contain Marcel Reed. If Auburn had any offense, they would have probably won the game outright, but could not do anything with Jackson Arnold. I think if Florida can score 20, I think that 7.5 is going to be plenty enough. And this is a game where I think Florida could potentially win the game outright if they can keep Marcel Reed from going crazy. And I don't think he's going to go crazy on that Florida defense.
And bear in mind, they won the wild game with Notre Dame, but it was high scoring. It was, 42-41.
Yeah.
Notre Dame ran all over them in that game, but they found a way. This is, 105,000 plus at College Station. How will Florida handle that? They crumbled at LSU with Lagway with all the interceptions. You brought up the point about Dallas Wilson. He's a Tampa kid. And again, Lagway hit him with a couple of those long throws. He's been inaccurate at times. Florida can run the ball. I like this.
Ball.
Yep. 6 Central Time is the start at Kyle Field coming up on Saturday night. So doggy number one is Florida Gators. And what a narrative changing situation if Florida can find a way to win. I don't know that they will. I don't know that you're saying that they will win, but you say close enough over the key number with the hook of 7.5 to take a strong look at Florida one more time. Final thought? Anything else?
I just think Florida's that game's gonna be competitive the whole way. Again, I think Florida could win the game. Do I expect them to win the game? No, but I think that game is going to be a one-possession game most of the night.
All right, so that is doggy number one of the 6 that we're going to end up giving you here on 3 Dog Thursday. I am going to back up to Friday night, and at the risk of everybody watching us all over the country and all over the globe, wherever you could see us here on the Winning Cures Everything platform, or if you're hearing us on podcast, take us anywhere that you are. Hey, I was checking it out all the way out in Seattle in the northwest part of the continent. You can see it's the internet, baby. It's everywhere. We could be accused of maybe being biased towards the Sunshine State or towards the Tampa Bay area, but you know what? This is underdog business. The host has got to get back on track after an 0-3 week last week. I had been 12-3. The host is going to get on track on Friday night with Mrs. Rives and the USF Bulls. Yes, I have divided loyalty in my household. I'm a Memphis Tiger. She is a Bull. Here we go with USF at the Mean Green of North Texas, Friday night, 7:30 Eastern Time, American Conference game. A lot riding on it, obviously, for South Florida. Well, North Texas is saying, hey, a lot riding on it for us. We're 5-0. Meantime, USF 4-1. They have the win at Florida. They have a win over Boise State. The only loss is to Miami, which does not look like a bad loss at all on the road. Explosive offense for Alex Golish, and I get them as a short underdog here, only have to win the game. Byron Brown, the quarterback, is spectacular. They've got some good skill players. Mm-hmm. Now, North Texas has been good on offense. They have the upset win earlier in the year. They have a couple of different victories, including a win over Army. I was on the other side. I took Army as the underdog at home with North Texas, and they won very impressively in that matchup. Jason, a thought here on USF and a North Texas 5-0 team. I'm double checking that other early season impressive win for them was over Washington State. The newly constituted Pac-12 is going to have a doozy of a time with Washington State and Oregon State both having bad years. North Texas put 59 on Washington State. So this is a team that has demonstrated they can score some points with Drew Mestamaker at quarterback. Any thought here? USF, North Texas, Friday night.
Last week, Byron Brown leading again. He's their dual threat quarterback for USF. Ran for like 165 yards. He actually that USF at 400 yards rushing. I know Charlotte's not very good, but ideally Alex Golish wants to run the ball. That's their forte is running. Byron Brown is not a great thrower, good enough. They like to throw over the top down the field, but if North Texas can contain Byron Brown, they got a great chance there. But if they can't, and USF can keep that running game churning, I think it's going to be a problem for the mean green,
right? Or the green, Green Eagles of North Texas. Interesting. Speaking of the covers, USF destroying Charlotte last Friday night. They were up 26-0 before you could spell Charlotte in that game. And then I thought, really, I'm not making excuses. They lost interest as the game was going on because they're up by 4 touchdowns, essentially. And Charlotte kept scoring a touchdown in the second half and going for 2. And the third time they did it, when they scored and went for 2 again, it got the line covered. And here we go again with these coaches know the number. And Alex Golish kept hustling down the field in the final minute of the game and tacked on a touchdown and an extra point, which covered the number at the end of the game with a minute to go. That was fascinating last week. But they're going to play fast. They're going to play quick. And again, the game with Memphis is looming. The Tigers and the Bulls is looming. USF's got to keep taking care of business. And at the end of the month, that's leader in the clubhouse for the group of 5 representative in the college football playoff. Now, again, North Texas would be saying, what about us? If they win this game, they've got a 6th victory for them. So I understand that. I get that in the Friday night game. I just like USF. Final thought here on South Florida, North Texas, or shall we move on?
In that USF win over Florida looking a little better now that Florida's playing better. And obviously, again, this is a huge game in that conference because, again, you're right. The winner of this game is going to make the claim, hey, we're the best team. Along with potentially Memphis and maybe Navy at the end there.
Tulane has an argument. Yeah. I'm just looking because I did not know this. North Texas does not play Memphis later in the year. They do not play Tulane later in the year. They do play Navy. and they've got a softer schedule at the end, man, at Charlotte, UAB, Rice at the end of the year. So this is resume builder for North Texas, but I don't think they get it done. I think it's Mrs. Reeves's Bulls, Rocky the Bull and company. Give me them on Three Dog Thursday as my second underdog. We appreciate you finding us. However you have done so, we're giving you the underdogs here on this Thursday on the Winning Cures Everything platform, and also the podcast as well. You see right there on the screen, TJ Rives, Jason Powers, hanging out here on Thursdays. We want to tell you about our sponsor, Ticket Smarter, and the Ticket Smarter mobile app right now on the program. If you're looking to go to these biggest games, we mentioned Florida, Texas A&M at Kyle Field, and trying to get a couple of tickets there. We're going to talk about Michigan and USC in a little bit, Southern Cal at the Coliseum, Cotton Bowl for Texas OU. What else, Jason? Ohio State at Illinois. Take your pick across the board for these different games in college football. Georgia, Auburn, Oregon, Indiana, any of the biggest games. Use Ticket Smarter, the Ticket Smarter mobile app. Best prices on the secondary market through their algorithm. You're going to get the most competitive price that you can find with Ticket Smarter, and save $10 off an order of 100 or more, $10 off with the code WCE for Winning Cures Everything, Gary's platform. And if you're going to get the better seats at the Cotton Bowl for Oklahoma, Dallas, are you kidding me? You're not going to get 2 tickets for under 100 or under $300. They're going to be 150 each easily at the Cotton Bowl. Use WCE20. Take $20 off any order, $300 or more. Plus, if you're buying a 4-pack of tickets that cost you $300 for the order, save $20 with WCE20. Use the codes as much as you want. Baseball playoffs, NFL, NBA starting up, concert,
hockey just starting up,
hockey starting up, whatever. Use the codes as much as you want. I keep saying this for a lot of these different secondary market offers. You can only use the code once. Use WCE10 or WCE20, whichever is appropriate, as many times as you want. Think smarter, Ticket Smarter. Get in the game with Ticket Smarter, proud sponsors here as part of Three Dog Thursday and the Winning Cures Everything platforms. All right, let's get back at it, you and me. Doggy number 3 for you is in the Big Ten. This will probably be a tough ticket as well. At Camp Randall, Wisconsin and Iowa, traditional Big Ten rivals. Why do you like the Badgers? Badgers, we don't need no stinking Badgers. Badgers plus the 3.5 with the Hawkeyes.
A lot of heat on Luke Fickell these days. Again, he's not gotten it done there so far. A lot of people thought he was going to be a home run hire a couple years back when he took that job. You know, he had his pick of a job. He picked this job to go to. He's just, for whatever reason, he's not been able to get a consistent production, very similar to what Billy Napier at Gainesville. They played decent one week and then just can't put back-to-back performance in. They did play pretty well last week against Michigan, so that was encouraging. They did lose 24-10, but that game was a 10-point game for a long, long time.
They were winning in the first half late as well. They hung in defensively, yes.
They've had quarterback issues. Who's going to play quarterback for them? We don't know. They're playing an Iowa team who's never an offensive juggernaut. Do you know this, TJ Reeves? First of all, they've only thrown 4 touchdown passes all year. And other than Albany and UMass, they've not thrown a touchdown pass other than against Albany and UMass.
Yeah, it's crazy. Year. Against the better teams, they haven't done anything throwing the foot. And it's what Gronowski, the transfer quarterback.
FCS, really good player. Yeah,
they got to get him going at some point. Now, I had them against Indiana. They hung in because of the defense. This is now on the road, and you just like the Badgers here in the spot. We love the spot.
I think a defensive game. I think it's a close game. I think, again, if Wisconsin can score 17 points, I think they're going to be in great shape here. They are playing for the Heartland Trophy. That's kind of the Midwest has all these little trophy games that all these teams play in the Big Ten for. So they are playing for the Heartland. I just think there's a spot for Luke Fickell. If he's going to win a game, he needs to win this one because he still has Oregon at home. He still has Penn State at home. Probably not going to win those games. So if you're Luke Fickell and you want to survive, or at least, again, hang in there for a little longer, you need to win this game. I think Wisconsin figures out a way in a low-scoring game, 17-14, 20-17 kind of game. I'll take the 3.5 at home with Wisconsin.
All right, 6 Central Time at Camp Randall for Wisconsin and Iowa coming up on Saturday evening. And Jason Powers says on Wisconsin on 3-Dog Thursday here with the picks. All right, I owe you another one. Am I going to go to the SEC? Yes, I am. Am I going to look the way of a team that maybe has no business being on this show? The Arkansas Razorbacks. I am. Bobby Petrino is back, baby, as the interim coach here after the firing of Sam Pittman. By the way, my Memphis Tigers helped start the slide that got Pittman fired. He lost in the game with Auburn. He lost the game to Memphis. He got destroyed by Notre Dame. They got rid of him. Petrino was brought in by Pittman to be the offensive coordinator. Obviously, he's the former head coach, had the whole incident with the female staff member and the motorcycle ride and the wreck, and it got him fired out of there. He also
where's your Undertaker neck
I don't have my neck collar. I don't have my neck collar on. He later went to Louisville and very famously flamed out getting fired there while they're running his TV show on the station taped. They have the crawl saying Bobby Petrino's been fired on the TV show. So it's been bad for him in the recent past as the head coach. But you know what? We're big again on the spot. So let's talk about the spot. Arkansas off the bye week. Arkansas, Jason, back me up, has players. They have a quarterback, a mobile quarterback. They have skill players. They've had an extra week to talk about it with Tennessee. Are we believing a little bit in Taylon Green, the skill players, the extra week, even if it is on the road here? Yeah. Thoughts on this matchup with Tennessee?
The other part of this equation is he's fired half the defensive staff. So you're going to have a new play caller on defense. So you're not sure what Arkansas is going to run defensively as opposed to what they were running. They're not great on defense. It's going to be a high-scoring game. You're going to need Taylon Green to at least score 30, I think, to be in this game because I think Tennessee will score some points here. But Taylon Green is a player. Petrino knows how to call plays. A little bit of maybe an emotional upswing with a new coach. Who knows? But Bobby Petrino back in the head coach's chair.
Back in the SEC here. And again, for Tennessee, they're off of a bye week themselves. They maybe have a look ahead because it's Alabama next week. Right. They are at home. They played the wild game with Georgia about a month ago and lost in overtime and gave up a bunch of points. That's Georgia. They gave up a bunch of points at Mississippi State as well. I think Arkansas can score, and this is compelling again that we're beyond the key number of 10. I get 11.5 to hang in. Now, that did not serve me well with Houston last week and Texas Tech, that key number. But I like this spot, and again, this is in the afternoon at 4:15 Eastern time on the Hill in Knoxville. I'm not saying Arkansas wins, but you bring up a great point. If the defense is a little better and they're still explosive on offense, can they hang in? But with Tennessee, I think they will on 3-Dog Thursday. Petrino probably no long-term future as the coach. This is just to tide it over for right now.
What if he wins a few games?
I don't think so. I
don't either, but
even if they were to win like 3 or 4 games, I don't think it matters. I think they're going to go for a whole new, younger, whatever. One of the criticisms of Pittman, not in touch with the younger players, older, et cetera, and Petrino would be in the same boat at this point. I mean, he's been coaching now for 25 years, basically. And at some point, it all starts to wear thin, especially with him. So,
by the way, here's a little tie for you. You know who the agent is for John Calipari?
Go ahead.
Jimmy Sexton.
Yeah, well, right.
You know who the agent? You know who James Franklin's agent is?
I would have bet
Jimmy Sexton.
Jimmy Sexton has 90% of the SEC coaches.
And with what's going on at Penn State, with all the heat and all the turmoil, could you see a scenario where James negotiates a nice buyout of Penn State and all of a sudden comes down to Fayetteville?
Kind of like what Calipari did to leave Kentucky in basketball.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying on that. All right, keep an eye on that.
Yep.
Maybe for Arkansas. All right, again, that game on the SEC network for Saturday afternoon. We've talked a lot of SEC so far in the show, so you know what we need to do? Let's go back to another game in another conference, and you're going to go there in prime time on NBC from the Coliseum. It's USC and Michigan. Yep. All right, why are the Wolverines doggy number 3 +3 here against Southern Cal for you?
I think this is a game of physicality. I think if you look back at USC's history since Lincoln Riley's been there, they have not been a very physical team. They have been beaten soundly by teams that love to commit to the physicality of running the ball. What does Michigan love to do? They love to get in the I formation or the shotgun and run the ball. Bryce Underwood's a really good runner. Justice Haynes, the former Alabama back who's had a great year at Michigan, is a pounder. What did Illinois do to them a couple weeks ago? They ran the ball in Champaign,
right at them.
Ran it right at them. So this is a spot here, and here's another reason. You look at Michigan's schedule after this game. If they win this game, they got nothing until the end of the year in Ohio State. They've got a cake schedule to get to until they get to Ohio State. So this is a pseudo playoff game for Michigan, in my view. They win this game, I think they got a great chance to get to the Big Ten title game, because remember, their only loss so far is a non-conference game in Oklahoma. So even if you lose to Ohio State at the end, that's one loss. I think they got a great chance if they can win this game at Southern Cal. By the way, there'll be 20,000 Michigan fans.
Oh, absolutely, at the Coliseum. They travel well. They have a huge West Coast alumni base in California. And you mentioned Justice Hayes. This is in your favor here for the star running back. I'm just double-checking. Justice Haynes out of Alpharetta, Georgia. 5 games played. Jason Powers, 5 100-yard games, including 117 last week on 19 carries. He also ran for 149 against Nebraska, ran for 125 in the loss at Oklahoma. So I think that run game can be key. Again, I think this is a close game, USC at home, but I feel you on Michigan has been here before. You want a couple of numbers. By the way, Michigan last played in the Coliseum before you and I were born. 1957 is the last time Michigan played a game at the USC Coliseum, the Southern Cal's LA Memorial Coliseum. They have played in the Rose Bowl. They have played USC 8 times in the Rose Bowl game. They've just never played them in the Coliseum in the modern. USC just 2-7 in the last 9 games in October under Lincoln Riley, ATS. 2-7. That includes, would that not include the loss to Illinois? Illinois was late September. All right, 2 weeks ago. But 2-7 is compelling. Michigan 4-1 ATS in the last 5 Big Ten games going back to last year under Sharon Moore. Stay tuned.
They've
this
already
again
played.
Is on NBC.
They've already played 2 hostile environments. They were at Nebraska like 3 weeks ago and took care of business there. They obviously didn't win at Oklahoma, but that's an elite defense at Oklahoma.
They hung in the game. It was a one-score game for a lot of the second half. They hung in the game. I don't
think USC's got an elite defense. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. I think Underwood's legs are also going to be a factor. Him running the ball as well. I like Michigan to win the game out right there in the Coliseum.
All right. Again, that one on NBC on primetime. That's probably the game of the night. That might have 10, 12 million people watching it because of the love-hate factor for Michigan in the Big Ten markets, in markets like Detroit, Chicago, Cleveland, etc. They love to hate the Wolverines. All right, one more official underdog, and we've not gone off, at least I've not gone off the beaten path rarely. So I already gave you an American Conference doggy. We're not just going SEC Big Ten. Let's go Mountain West. What is the host doing with the Wyoming Cowboys? All right, the Wyoming Cowboys off a loss. Did you see the hailstorm, Hail, hailstorm, before Wyoming UNLV last Saturday afternoon in Laramie, where they literally played with a nice frosted field in Laramie the first week in October, had about an inch of hail, dime size, quarter size hail all over the place, knocked the crowd down to about 6,000 or 7,000, I think, in Laramie. All right, UNLV was impressive in beating Wyoming, but here's the thing. Wyoming has played Utah, and that was at home. They played Colorado at Colorado, and UNLV looks like the best team in the Mountain West, and UNLV beat them a week ago by a couple of touchdowns. But now they're at home with San Jose State, that really hasn't played anybody, and San Jose State's got to come there. San Jose State was a winner last week in conference. San Jose State did beat Stanford a couple of weeks ago by 1. I don't understand why Wyoming's an underdog here. I know they lost last week. Jason, I'm grabbing those 2 points, and I think this is the Cowboys in Laramie in a game that is going to be at 5 Mountain Time. I don't know what the weather forecast is again, but give me Wyoming, and Caden Jackson, I believe is the quarterback's name, who's had a decent year at home with the Spartans of San Jose State. Any quick thought on this matchup?
I do have a quick thought. As a sideline guy, what does a sideline guy wear when it's hailing out?
I don't have a hard hat typically with me. I might have a jacket for the rain, but what do I need? I need like one of those thick parkas to have the hail bounce off. But yeah, it was crazy last week in the game. There's no doubt there in the Mountain West with UNLV, and I'm just looking back on a couple of the stats from that game last week where UNLV improved to 5-0 in the matchup in Laramie. Again, Condrea, the transfer quarterback from Virginia, was good in the game. It's amazing that they had a hailstorm there. Condrea has 1,000 passing yards, had a good game last week in the win, 31-17. But meantime, for Wyoming here in this matchup, let's see what they can do with San Jose State at home. I'll play the hunch. I'll play the spot that I just need the outright win from the Cowboys here in this matchup. All right, few moments left. We love to go through the honorable mention. We love to go through some thoughts on some other big-time games we did not cover. Did you know it is the 121st edition of the Red River Rivalry, the Red River Shootout, as it's known? Texas and Oklahoma. Texas off the awful loss at Florida where Arch Manning didn't look very good. They could not protect him, the offensive line, in the swamp in Gainesville. Some are saying, hey, the only 2 times Texas has stepped up with Ohio State and Florida, Arch Manning has looked mortal, has looked even below average, if you want to be honest. All right, interesting that they destroyed Oklahoma a year ago, 34-3 in this game. Revenge spot for OU. We don't know if Mateer, the quarterback, the Heisman candidate, can play. Midweek, Brent Venables is still being coy about, is he practicing? Will he play? Didn't play last week. They rested his injury, his hand injury or wrist injury, whatever it is. Jason, a thought on Texas OU, 2:30 Central Time from Dallas.
I think that point spread by the boys in Vegas, tell us they don't think Mateer is going to play, because I think if they thought he was going to play, I think Oklahoma would probably be a 2 or 3 point favorite on the other side. So,
at least, I would think, right?
Again, this rivalry has had every year it has something crazy happen. I don't care what the records of the teams are. We've seen some wild games in this series in the Cotton Bowl.
Mac Brown, for example, won as like a 14-point underdog one year.
Yeah.
Like the 13, 14-point underdog. They won the game outright, to your point.
I mean, we see long touchdowns. We see block punts. We see wild stuff at the Texas State Fair there with the Oklahoma-Texas game. Again, Oklahoma's defense is legit. Can Arch Manning and that offense get it going at all? They played a really good defense in Florida and didn't do much. They're playing a better defense in Oklahoma. You got Michael Hawkins, who's the replacement for Mateer. He played a good bit last year. I don't know if he played in this game or not. Last year, if Jackson Arnold was still playing, but Hawkins played a good bit at the end of the year for that Oklahoma team. So he won't be, this will not be a new experience for him.
Sure.
I think Oklahoma slight, but again, defense, again, can go either way.
And again, you may be watching us and you know if Mateer is playing or he's been ruled out. Jason and I don't know that on 3 Dog Thursday as we begin here, and the line may move some, but right now the point is the matter. How about this is the 9th anniversary on 3 Dog Thursday of this guy, Baker Mayfield, if you can see him putting on the golden cowboy hat. Mayfield threw for 390 and 4 touchdowns in a 45-40 win in 2016. So Bake from the Buccaneers, Shake and Bake, has history in this game. By the way, Texas won this game with Sarkisian back 3 years ago, 49-0. They have a 49 bagel win and a 34-3 win in the last 2 years, or the last 3 years, 2 of the last 3 for Texas. One other interesting note, Oklahoma ATS is only 4-9 in this game with Texas in the last 13. Not all of that is Venables and Sarkisian. We get it. But just if you're looking at trends and playing the numbers here, interesting on OU Texas, one of those traditional rivalry games that's an SEC game now.
Neither team has been able to run the ball very good, so
right?
Probably who who makes the most hay in the running game probably will win this game in the end, because I think the passing games for both teams are not great. I'd still give an edge to Texas with Arch over Michael Hawkins, but who can establish themselves in the running game will probably decide this.
And again, Venables can make a lot of friends and make people forget last year if he wins this game. Just win it however you can against Texas and roll on in the top 10 for Oklahoma. All right, so that game in the afternoon on ABC National TV, the big noon game on Fox, they'll be there for Ohio State and Illinois. How about Illinois? Looked very good against USC. Which Illinois are we getting? You back them. I'm not just trying to make you mad. You back them against Indiana. They gave up 63 points. Have we still figured out why they got destroyed that bad against Indiana, then turned around and handled USC? They were obviously better defensively against the Trojans in that win. Meantime, Ohio State has been very businesslike, went out to Washington and won big, destroyed Minnesota last week. This is a 14.5-point line. You and I did not touch it for Three Dog Thursday, but a thought on Buckeyes, Illini?
Sneaky Julian Sayin is getting better and better each week at quarterback for Ohio State. That offense is starting to get there. That defense, give Matt Patricia credit. He has put together a stout, big-time defense there in Columbus. They shut down Washington on the road, shut down Minnesota, shut down Texas. I would expect a lower-scoring game here, maybe a 27-10 kind of game. I don't know if Illinois can score enough here with that defense of Ohio State. Luke Altmaier, who we've talked about before, has been there 100 years, it seems like, in Illinois.
Right.
I would expect Ohio State to win the game, whether they cover the number. Who knows? But I think that defense of Ohio State is going to be the difference Saturday.
And again, for the Buckeyes here, they're still riding high off the national championship and the end run that they had at the end of last season, winning those playoff games. It has continued. There's a lot of optimism. Jeremiah Smith is the wide receiver who's fantastic. They still run the ball. Look out for the Buckeyes, who've won 8 straight matchups against Illinois overall. How about they've won the last 11 in Champaign? 11 straight wins in Champaign overall in the series. Obviously, that predates Ryan Day. It goes back even to Urban Meyer, et cetera.
25 years, probably 25 years.
And maybe even Jim Tressel. So Buckeyes and Illini is the big noon Fox national TV game. We stayed away from that, but we gave you some good thoughts on that. And one other interesting game, we have not talked Big 12. Arizona State in one of the last games of the night playing at Utah. Utes again off a bye week. Arizona State, ASU also off the bye. ASU 2 last-second wins on field goals against Baylor and at home with TCU.
Yep.
Utah got whacked by Texas Tech earlier in the year in Salt Lake.
Yep.
Any thought here on this Big 12 matchup? Sun Devils, Utes.
I mean, you got two good quarterbacks, Dampier for Utah. You got Sam Levitt for Arizona State. Again, can Arizona State hold up physically? Again, we saw Texas Tech go into Salt Lake City and take care of business physically with that defense. Again, Utah is going to try to run the ball. They're going to try to, shorten the game here with their physicality. Sam Levitt, again, I know you've liked him. Did you have Arizona State against TCU?
I had TCU against Arizona State, but Levitt led the game-tying drive and then eventually the game-winning field goal drive late. And let us not forget, he led them to the go-ahead score at Mississippi State. It's not his fault that the defense gets burned on the bomb in Starkville with all the cowbells. Arizona State's been tested, but this will be interesting here at Utah, at Rice-Eccles, and Utah already has a conference loss. They don't want a second conference loss.
No doubt. The winner of this game stays in the hunt, like you said, because remember, Texas Tech's undefeated. They're clearly, I think, the best team in that league through
BYU undefeated as well. BYU undefeated in the Big 12, correct?
This should be a close game, a night game at Rice-Eccles, which is again very underrated stadium to play in at night. I believe Utah has the Holy War next week with BYU.
Let me double check on that, right?
Pretty sure that's next week. So, but again, I think it's going to be a very competitive game. Arizona State, coming off the playoff bid last year. Dillingham's doing a good job. I would lean slightly Utah, but again, a coin flip kind of game for me.
You are correct. They do have the Holy War. They usually play that game at the end of the year. They have the Holy War next week at BYU. And remember that they had the wild comeback by BYU and the officiating controversy and the whole bit. Don't get caught looking ahead if you're Utah. here in this situation. By the way, Kyle Whittingham is 5-1 ATS at home against the Sun Devils in his career. Remember, these were old Pac-12 teams previously. Arizona State beat them a year ago, the first year in the Big 12. They played each other. That was the point in the schedule where Utah was on the slide, had gone off the cliff with injuries at quarterback and to their run game. Arizona State beat them last year, so this is revenge for the Utes at home. This is 8:15 Mountain Time on Saturday night on ESPN for Arizona State and Utah as the final one of the underdogs. All right, by means of recap, let's go over it again for the podcast audience, and you'll see it on the screen here for the video audience with us on Winning Cures Everything on Three Dog Thursday. We began the show with Jason saying, give me the Florida Gators with Texas A&M getting the 7.5 points. I stayed in the Sunshine State with Mrs. Reeves's Bulls USF on Friday night with the 1.5 in the American matchup with unbeaten 5-0 North Texas. I think USF obviously wins the game and keeps their hopes alive for the college football playoff. Jason, you like Wisconsin one more time with Iowa in a Big Ten, probably low-scoring slugfest, getting 3.5. I took Arkansas off the bye week at Tennessee with Bobby Petrino at the controls. I just think it's a lot of points and they can score to be able to hang in with Tennessee. Maybe this ends up being like 45-38, something like that. And I still cover. You took Michigan at the Coliseum with USC plus the 3 on Three Dog Thursday. And I have Wyoming in the Mountain West with San Jose State at home, just Wyoming to win. I got 2 situations of just win the game for South Florida and for Wyoming with San Jose State Saturday night. Closing thoughts for you, my friend, here on Three Dog Thursday. Anything else?
Sneaky good game in Columbia, Missouri, Alabama, Missouri. So keep an eye out on that game.
We did not talk about that one. Alabama off the win over Vandy.
And
Missouri,
Georgia,
I believe, comes off of the bye week, if I'm not mistaken. It's at Mizzou. Kalen DeBoer, though, just to scare everybody off, in his last 15 games, playing against a ranked opponent, ranked versus ranked at Washington or Alabama, he's 13-2 ATS. Just beware. Got the big win against Alabama in a ranked versus ranked situation. One of those losses is to Florida State in a ranked versus ranked, but he's 13-2 in the last 15 for that one. I think we've given you all the nuggets and all the info we can. My friend, are you ready for another Locktober Saturday of college football here? Let's get after it. Let's get after it. Thank you again to Gary Seegers. Tremendous content with his spread picks and all of his individual game picks and everything he's got going on at Winning Cures Everything, the YouTube platform here, winningcureseverything.com. Again, wherever you get podcasts, find us, Three Dog Thursday. Just take us in your AirPods, earbuds, your Bluetooth, whatever, with the pod, or find us on video, just like you did right here on Winning Cures. Make some comments down below. Tell us in the comments how smart Jason is and how idiotic I am to go 0-3 last week. We still point out on the show here that ATS kids, we're making you money. Take a look at the ATS record. We're not going to run from it. We're 21-14-1 through 5 weeks right now, making you money. Let's see if we do better,
brother. 60%.
That is, we're still making you money right now here on the program. So let's see what happens. Brother Powers, have a great weekend. Thank you for another edition here with me talking doggies on Three Dog Thursday. Thank you, sir.
Anytime.
There is Jason Powers. I'm merely TJ Reeves. Follow him at JPO Sports. JPO Sports. Also the Florida Football Insiders podcast to find out more on all these Florida teams. Gators, Miami rolling, Florida State, USF, UCF, Florida Football Insiders pod. I'm merely TJ Reeves. We thank you for being with us here on this pod and this video show. It is Three Dog Thursday.
Thanks for listening to Winning Cures Everything. Subscribe, leave a review or comment, follow at Gary WCE on X, and check out the web store,